started to read chapter 42 of The American Pageant, The American People Face a New Century, I came across a quote that I thought really justified America's effect on the world up until this point in history. So I'm going to begin by reading it. And it says, "The history of American society also seemed to have increased global significance as the third millennium of Christian era opened. Americans were a pluralistic people who had struggled for centuries to provide opportunity and to achieve tolerance and justice for many different religious, ethnic, and racial groups. Their historical experience could offer valuable lessons to the rapidly internationalizing planetary society that was emerging at the dawn of the 21st century." And before I go on to read the rest of the chapter, I just want to say that I think that paragraph does a really good job of identifying the significant role America up until this point in history has had on the rest of the world. It says that we have taught the world valuable lessons, and I'm looking forward to looking closer into that as I read the chapter. "For better or worse, they march forward along time's path bearing the burdens of the past, knowing when they have come to a truly new turn in the road, when they can lay past of their burdens down, and when they cannot, or should not. All this constitutes the sort of wisdom that only historical study can engender." Quote, page 1084, chapter 42, The American People Face a New Century. So at this point in my reading, I hypothesized that some sort of new issues in America are going to arise, and people of America are going to turn to our history to be able to figure out what they should do, because it says that all this constitutes a sort of wisdom that only historical study can engender. So the significance here is that we can look at our history to help us figure out what we should do in the future. Americans now rocketed down the information superhighway toward the uncharted terrain of electronic global village, where traditional geographic, social, and political boundaries could have vaulted with the tap of a keypad. Quote, page 1084, chapter 42, The American People Face a New Century. Okay, when I read this paragraph, I was shocked because I was like, whoa, this is insane. You know, coming from someone who has lived only with the information always in front of me, having the ability to be on a computer with the resources we have now in the 21st century, I never realized the significance of the emergence of all this technology and what it really did for the people. So I'm really excited to continue to read and see the effect that it had on the people as a whole. I mean, I wouldn't know. I've always lived with this. It's nothing new to me, right? But this is crazy. In the blink of an eye, ordinary citizens could gain access to information once available only to privileged elites. Quote, page 1084, chapter 42. When I read this, I was like in awe, because I was like, wow, I really just never understood the significance of the emergence of all this technology, because not only does the ordinary citizen feel like they have all this information and power, but what is this going to do to the elite that now is not that special anymore? Page 1085 of chapter 42 says, "But the very speed and efficiency of the new communication tools threaten to wipe out entire occupational categories. Postal carriers, travel agents, store clerks, bank tellers, stockbrokers, and all kinds of other workers whose business it was to mediate between product and client might find themselves roadkill on the new information superhighway." So my question now is, what's going to happen to unemployment levels? Because I never thought of this emergence of technology and communication products as, potentially a negative effect on society, but I really never understood the significance of this emergence. So I'm really excited to continue to read. Science is also very significant during this time, because it says scientific research was the motor that propelled the economy. And then it continues on to say, "And the new scientific knowledge raised new moral dilemmas and provoked new political arguments." And what I got out of this is, now you're going to have science and our morals conflicting. So politics, being the authoritative allocation of values, will be put to the test when we have these moral dilemmas and our authoritative allocators juggling with the struggle between moral dilemmas and science, and I think that this is going to spur a lot of controversial, picking sides and extremists. So I'm excited to then see what this has an effect on the rest of the world. As I continue to read, it's cool to be able to recognize the long-term effect Reagan really did have on our country, because on page 1087, it is discussing the large amount of people living in poverty during this time, and it says that the reason for this can be rooted to Reagan's era, and it's just crazy to see how inequalities during this time can be rooted back to a past president from so long ago. So I found this very interesting. Well, I haven't finished chapter 42 yet, and to be completely honest, I'm hesitant to finish it because I was thinking about it, and just as you watch like the development of a child, or you read a book when a child starts really young and you don't want to read the end because you don't want to face how much they've grown up or something of the sort. It's crazy to think back to the beginning of the year when we started our history book from Coming to America, and really like what it is today. It's incredible, and there are specific people that are definitely to be noted for having a huge effect on our country. And we've really, just as a nation, been through a lot with civil wars, with world wars, definitely had a lot of issues to struggle with along the years, and by no means are we a perfect nation now, but I just think it is very cool to see how we've evolved as a country and how we've had an effect on the rest of the world. And, the melting pot we are today is still holding strong for being the country that, a lot of ships landed at by accident hundreds of years ago, not too long ago. But it's truly remarkable to see how we've changed, and it's been really cool to study. So with that, I should probably finish reading, but thank you.